The Define Area tool is the second most important tool in the program. You can access the tool by going up to Area and click on Define Area, or from the main toolbar here it's called Area, and you see it's like a piece of paper with a pencil because it is the drawing tool. So when you click on it, it brings up this same menu. Now there are several options in this tool, but let me show you real quick why you want to use it. So I want to define this area here of the driveway to place in pavers or decorative concrete. So what I do is I click the area with the Define Area tool. That point is set. I'm going to draw around this driveway, and I go back to the beginning. I've closed the polygon, so now I have a defined area. The shortcut here called Hardscape Library. I'm going to select on a paver to place in that defined area, and then I'm able to adjust the perspective on that defined area using the Hardscape Library perspective tool to do so. That's what it's used for. Another thing that you could do with the Define Area tool is grab objects off the screen. I want to grab this garage door. I want to make it an object. I click on it and move it, and now I've got this object that I can size and manipulate on the screen. So it's used for two different things: defining areas to place in decorative concrete or pavers, or grabbing an image off of the screen. So let's now go into a little more detail of what the tools do. The menu is divided up into three sections. You've got the two top icons, which are addition and subtraction. Then you have the drawing tools. You have the Polygon Draw tool, the rectangular draw tool, and the circle tool. Then you have the editing tools. One is add point, delete a point, and move a point. So let's go over those. The tool that is used the most is the Polygon Draw tool, which I demonstrated a minute ago. But let's show you a little more detail on that. So how it works is you could click, that sets a point, and then you move your mouse, and you can see wherever you move your mouse there's a line drawn from the first point to wherever you move the mouse. Then you could click again, it sets a second point. You click again, it'll set another point. Now if you want to draw freehand, all you need to do is click and drag. So I'm going to click here and then drag my mouse so I'm able to draw freeform in any type of squiggly line that I want. Now if I want to stop drawing freeform, I release the left mouse, and now it goes back to drawing lines. You can also draw straight lines by holding down the shift key on the keyboard. I'm now going to hold down the shift key, and you see that that line just straightened up. I'm releasing the shift key, holding down the shift key. It will snap to a 90 or 45 degree angle. So if you need something straight or at a 45, just hold down the shift key and then click. To close the polygon, there are three ways you could do it. You can double click, which will close the polygon. You could bring your mouse on top of the very first point you drew and select on it, or you can press enter on the keyboard. I recommend that you get used to pressing enter on the keyboard, because there are no mistakes made when you press enter on the keyboard. Sometimes when you go to double click, you actually triple click, you draw an extra line that you have to get rid of. Drawing on the first point works well, but sometimes you miss, depending if you're zoomed in or not, or how skilled you are with the mouse. So again, I repeat, to close the polygon, you would just press enter. So I'm going to draw another quick one here. Press enter, and it will go from the last point you drew to the first one and close your polygon. Now when you're drawing with the polygon and you've drawn points, you can back off of those points by hitting the backspace on your keyboard. So I drew some lines, and I drew a squiggly line. So I'm going to hit the backspace on my keyboard, and you can see every time I hit the backspace it goes back one step. So I'm back to the beginning, I press the backspace again, and I'm able to start all over. So again, backspace undoes the last point you made. So if you're going along and you make a mistake and say, I see that that's not really on the driveway where I want it to be, I hit the backspace and then just redraw it. And yes, you can zoom in as you're drawing. So let's say I want to get a detail up here in this driveway. I hit F10 on the keyboard, and I'm able to zoom in, hit F9, I could zoom out, go over here, zoom back in by pressing F10 to get some detailed work done, and then zoom back out, and then I'll close the polygon. Now you'll notice here, if I zoom in, this polygon is in the wrong place. I want to edit it. That is where the editing tools come in at the bottom here. This one, like I said before, is move point. I could fix that mistake by clicking on move point, click on the actual point itself, and then drag it back to where I want it, and as you can see, it moved that line. The next drawing tool is the rectangle or square drawing tool. It works differently than the polygon tool, so we're going to click on it. So what you're able to do is click down a point and then drag your mouse. So it's not a click and release and then move your mouse. It's a click and drag, and then when you release the mouse, it draws the rectangle or square. Of course, it's not going to be square unless you make it square, but you have the option to make it any shape you want. So click and drag, that's all you have to do. And of course, yes, you can do multiple shapes, meaning you can use squares, rectangles, and polygons to draw one large shape like I'm doing here. To use the circle tool or make an oval, it works the same way. You click on the command, then you click down, drag your mouse and get it to the shape you want, and then you release your mouse and it will draw that shape. If you want a circle, of course, you need to make sure it looks like a circle to you and then release your mouse. It doesn't automatically do it by holding down the shift key. So you can make any shape you want. Again, you can join them all together, and you can even go in and use the polygon tool as part of the defined area. Now let's take a look at the editing tools. We've shown you how to draw polygons, rectangles, and circles, but you can also modify what you've drawn. So a rectangle has 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the corners, obviously. If I want to change that shape, I could use the move point icon, click on one of the points, and then drag it with my mouse and move it to a new location, and it changes the shape that I've drawn. Like I showed you earlier, it can also move points to correct mistakes that you've drawn. That's move point. Now, because I only have 4 points in here, if I want to make this into a star, I need more points. So I would go in here to add a point, which you see it's a pin with a little magic spot there. That means you're adding a point. So I'm going to click on that, and then what you do is you hold your mouse over where you want the point to be added, and then you click. So I've added a point there. I'm going to add a point there, one over on this side, and one on this side. So now that I've added those points, I want to move the points. I got to go back to the move point icon, and then I can grab those points and pull them out, or you can always bring them in. So again, you could change the shape that we started with as a rectangle. Now it looks nothing like a rectangle. The other option here is delete a point. And you can see it's deleting a point, which it will connect back to the other 2 points next to it. So what that means is if I delete this point here, it's going to draw a straight line from here to here, because this point will no longer be there. So I click on delete point, I hold my pointer down to that point and click, and you can see it's been deleted, and those 2 points that are there connect to each other. So if I go back and delete the 4 that I've added, I get back basically to a rectangle. Now let's go over the 2 icons at the top. You see this one here with the plus sign, that is the addition. The one with the minus sign is subtraction. When you're usually drawing, the plus or addition is always selected and is the default. So when I draw, say, a rectangle, I'll draw a circle on it, and I'll draw with a polygon. Because this is selected, they are all joined together, even if they are not connected. So I'm going to draw a square and a circle up here. So when I go in and grab a texture and place it in there, you can see that they're all filled. So these actually connected as one, and even though these are not physically connected, they still have the same texture. And if you change the perspective would change accordingly across all of these, even though they are technically not connected. So now if I go in here and edit this area, and I'm going to do so by clicking on the subtraction tool, what that will allow you to do is to subtract things from these areas. So I'm going to make a hole here. I'm going to make a hole in the middle of this one. And as you can see in real time, as I draw with the subtraction tool on, it takes out those areas. And again, with the editing tools, you can always modify those areas too. So if you want to remove something or cut a hole in something, remember that there is the subtraction tool that does just that. Now the last button here is just a shortcut that brings you to the pattern library. By selecting on it, it brings up the perspective menu, which allows you to put in pavers or decorative concrete. If you did not use the pattern library shortcut, you would have to click OK and then go up to the pattern library and click on it to bring up the same menu and get you to the same place. So it just saves you a couple clicks and maybe a couple seconds in using that shortcut. Now if you have a defined area and you have not clicked on Hardscape Library or clicked OK and you click cancel, it's going to cancel everything you drew. So if I click cancel now, I've lost that defined area. I'd have to go back in and draw it again.